you're looking to dive into topics on how to live a happier, healthier, more fit, and long lifespan, then you've come to the right podcast. Livin the Dream with me, Coach Damian Evans. Together, we will explore the topics on all things health, fitness, and wellness. Together, we will be lifelong learners on this journey to living the ultimate dream. What up, Dream Team? Coach D here coming at you from beautiful sunny San Diego, and welcome back to the Livin the Dream Podcast, where today we're going to cover the topic of training to help you reach your health, fitness, and wellness goals, and in order for you to live your dream life. Today, mental health is in quite a spot right now. More than 40% of Americans recently said that they were struggling with their mental health, leading the CDC to call the situation a quote-unquote crisis. Part of the issue is that we're coming out of a global pandemic that shifted our habits in a way that was not great for our outlook. For example, we spent more time sedentary. We spent more time indoors. We spent more time connected to the cloud than actual people. Less time active, outside, and connected with our community. The good news is many of these problems, they can be solved. They have solutions. Just as many of our pandemic behaviors led to a mental malaise, we can develop new behaviors that make us happier. There are many options to do this, but rucking training is one hell of a way to do so. Rucking, it ticks so many boxes that years of research indicate will boost our mental health. So what is rucking? Rucking is carrying weight in a pack or as a weight vest as a form of exercise. More research is suggesting that rucking has the most bang for buck compared to any other exercise. That's because it mixes strength training and it mixes cardiovascular endurance training. Its name originally came from military culture. A quote-unquote ruck is a military term. It's military speak for the heavy backpack that carries all of the items a soldier is going to need to fight war. And, quote, to ruck, unquote, or rucking is the act of marching that ruck into war, or as a form of training for soldiers or civilians to get fit and healthy. The military and other large medical bodies are now realizing that rucking doesn't just benefit us physically, it also boosts our mental health. We're going to talk about here's how today. So first off, rucking gets you outside. It gets you outside. Scientists first started studying the psychological benefits of nature in the 1980s. They were really skeptical at first. And I mean, frankly, the idea that some like hugging trees or whatever could make us feel chipper inside, it sounded like hippie nonsense, woo-woo BS. I know. But the research continues to prove that the hippies are kind of onto something here. Nature is a potent antidote to the modern overstressed condition that we currently live in. Japanese researchers found that people facing high levels of stress felt far less anxious, depressed, and irritable after just a couple of hours outside in the woods. Another study found that just 15 minutes of being outdoors led to drops in blood pressure, drops in heart rate, and drops in stress hormones. There are many reasons why nature seems to improve our mental health. It could be the sights, the smells, the sounds of nature, or the fact that you're getting out of that dang office and those artificial lights. And often when you're outside, you're moving around when you're out in nature, or any combination of all those things. The point is that it works. And you don't have to go far out. The research suggests that even a 20-minute ruck on a tree-lined street can decrease stress and improve your productivity and your outlook on life. So number one, rucking gets you outside. Number two, rucking works your heart rate. Gym culture over the last decade has leaned into an all-out blitzkrieg effort on heart rate. Stuff that sends your heart rate into the stratosphere like SoulCycle or CrossFit or whatever, insert name brand here. But in 2019, a worldwide group of scientists looked at all the research on what happens when you take groups of people suffering from depression and have them do some basic endurance exercise. The average session in these studies was 45 minutes. It was done 3 times a week, and it was done at a moderate intensity. Think a pace that you can have a conversation at, like you'd get from a typical rucking session, but you don't really want to hold that conversation, but you could. You wouldn't be breathing every other word. That's moderate intensity. The research found that aerobic exercise was a, quote, effective antidepressant, unquote. Whoa. Professor Kelly McGonigal of Stanford calls exercise a happy hope molecule releasing endorphin-like activity. I loved that. Exercise's mood-boosting effect is so complex as our brain and mind and metabolism. It may come from alterations in our dopamine and serotonin. It may come from improvements in our ability to manage stress and do hard things. Or it could come from helping us establish more behaviors that make us happier and healthier, or a combination of all the above. But we know it works. Number 2, rucking works your heart rate and is good for your mind. Number 3, rucking works your muscles. The ruck is heavy for the sake of being heavy. Yes, carrying that ruck, therefore, works your muscles to a degree that walking without the ruck or even running cannot do. And it turns out that strong muscles build a strong mindset. Plus, they help you live longer, which we've talked about many times. And at this point, that's not really arguable. That is according to a ton of research on this topic. It lists all kinds of good effects. Mental health benefits of resistance training for adults include reduction of symptoms in people with fatigue. Momentum builds on momentum. You get more energy the more energy you bring, especially when you're doing things that you find are beneficial to you. You actually, in your mind, think that this thing is helping you. Now, if you go into workouts and you do this rucking session like, oh my gosh, I do not want to do this. This is terrible. I feel tired. I don't want to do any of this. It's not going to help me at all. Like, that actually has an effect. If you go in with the mindset of like, I'm doing this to better myself, after I finish this, I will be a stronger, more cardiovascularly healthy person. I will be happier. I will be less anxious and depressed. I will have less pain alleviation in people with osteoarthritis, fibromyalgia, and low back issues tend to see improvements when it comes to rucking. Also, improvements in cognitive abilities in older adults, meaning those that have cognitive decline issues, maybe dementia, Alzheimer's, or early stages of any of those kind of cognitive decline diseases. Improvements are made by rucking in older adults. It's been proven. Also, improvements in self-esteem, which go so far. Another pioneering study conducted in 1997 found carrying and lifting weights a few times a week made depressed elderly people happier. The scientists wrote, quote, "The intervention worked with clinically meaningful reductions in depression on all self-rated and therapist-rated scales, with almost 60%, over half of exercisers achieving a greater than 50% reduction in depression. Half is depressed. And 14 out of 16 exercisers, almost all of them, no longer meeting criteria for depression after 10 weeks of this study. That is powerful. Rucking works your muscles, which are hope-releasing molecules, antidepressant, anti-anxiety medicine that your body and mind creates. Moving on to number 4, rucking is social. Running is great. I mean, I love going on a run every once in a while. I used to love running all the time for when I was doing sports. But it's kind of tough to do very well with people who have different fitness levels as you. Person A might want to run slower, while person B might want to run faster. Person A might be going at this pace and being able to talk easily, while person B might be dying inside. This means that one person gets a subpar workout and the other one hyperventilates and dies. No, I'm just kidding. But you see what I'm saying here. Rucking can correct for this problem. It gives us a cardio benefit equivalent to running in a more social and adaptable context. That's crazy. We don't have to run to get cardiovascular benefits. Put some weight in a backpack, and now the weight is a great equalizer. Person A could have 20 pounds, while person B could be using 35 pounds. And they'd be able to ruck at the same pace and get in the same workout, all while being able to hold a conversation throughout. They're meeting themselves where they're at, but they're able to do the same thing at the same time. Think about if you had your grandparent, or if you had a grandparent and a professional athlete. What would that look like if you guys both went on the same workout, were able to be social and interact with each other and be at different levels? That's what rucking can bring. And we know that time with people is critical for mental health, connection to your community, to your circle. One study conducted by researchers at BYU discovered that loneliness can be even worse for our health than obesity. Whoa. Rucking is social. Number 5, rucking removes you from any kind of stressors. It really does. In many of those nature studies, the participants didn't see any mental health benefits if they used their cell phones while they were doing this outdoors. There are likely 2 reasons for this. First, when we're on our cell phones, we're not actually in nature. You're somewhere else. We are ignoring our surroundings and we're putting ourselves into this digital world. Second, our screen is often filled with stuff that stresses us out, like another unnecessary meeting request on email or anything at all about American politics coming up on your news feed or your social media feed. It's filled with high stressed, very, very high stressful content. Even if it's good, stimulating content, it's still kind of stimulating in a way that is not what nature does to us. The answer isn't just to leave your phone at home. It's nice to have a phone in case of an emergency. Instead, silence your phone and toss it in your ruck so that you're not tempted to check it. You might even try rucking without music or podcasts occasionally. This is something that I really struggle with because I'm like the stacking king. I love to stack everything together so that I can be as efficient as possible. When I'm rucking, I have a podcast in my ear where I'm learning. It's kind of different than scrolling or looking at emails or thinking about that. You're learning, so you're kind of in this zone where you're immersing yourself in education, but also in nature. I'm definitely making sure that I'm taking the sights in. I'm letting my eyes dilate. I'm getting the sunshine on my skin. But what effects could be better for me if I had done this without music or podcasts? Maybe something that I need to try. Maybe something that you need to try. It can give you your focus. And allow your mind to wander, which sometimes the most genius inventions and the best ideas come from when you're in the shower and you don't have any stimulation and you're just thinking, or when you're outside looking at a sunset and just being. Like, how often do you give your mind a time to rest and allow your mind just the ability to wander and think about nothing? We very rarely get that opportunity nowadays. Rucking removes you from the stressors of life. Number 6, rucking tests your grit. I love this one. The military doesn't only use rucking for fitness. It also is a test of grit. It exposes us to a short-term discomfort, and you better believe that there's a little bit of discomfort when you're carrying weight on your back for miles at a time. This ultimately leads to long-term benefits. Other types of exercise, of course, are challenging to us, but rucking does so with a low risk of injury. It's no coincidence that the militaries of the world have chosen rucking as a tool to create that physical and mental fusion of toughness. You can push someone and really give them a little bit of toughness without exposing them to a high risk of injury. Decades of research and thousands of years of mythology tells us that humans improve by taking on challenges, by embracing and ultimately overcoming challenge. One of my life rules: get comfortable being uncomfortable. Lean into discomfort. Everything that you want is on the other side of hard. All of these benefits are great, and most other forms of exercise have at least some of these benefits. For example, trail running, it gets us out into nature and it works our heart rate. And CrossFit, it hammers our muscles and it is very social. But the thing that I mostly love about rucking is that it ticks more boxes than all of these things, and it doesn't have some big production like going for a run or going to the gym can actually start to be. I wear a ruck most times that I take my walks at Torrey Pines Beach. I'm going to walk this beach anyway. By making that walk just a little bit more challenging, health and fitness become so much more accessible. And I don't have to do anything differently except for strap a bag on my back with whatever weight that I have decided to put into it. And that, I think, is like the important part. If you want to find success in this technologically advanced world that we live in, that makes everything physically just so much easier for us, everything physically that we used to do that required physical work, now it's just so much easier for us to do. There are so many technological hacks for us to get it done without being physical. It's about making everyday life just a little bit harder. Do you take the stairs or do you take the elevator? Do you park in the back or do you wait until you find that upfront parking spot? If you every single day try to make those daily tasks just a little bit harder, you're going to do them anyway and it doesn't take any extra time. That is how you're going to be successful in life when it comes to your overall health, fitness. Easy does it with this mindset, of course. Like, you don't have to go balls to the wall and just like do handstand walk all the way up 10 flights of stairs. Like, of course, there's levels to this kind of thing, but just do it. Make it harder. Make it happen. Challenge yourself to change yourself. And an easy way to do this is to get a ruck. My ruck, I have a backpack that has a belt strap so that it kind of supports the weight at my hip, which I totally love. It's big enough for me to fit weights in it. It's big enough for me to put my beach blanket along with my swim shorts and a towel so that I can do my cold plunge at the same time. I have my water in there. I have a little bit of a weight, and it weighs about 30 to 35 pounds, and I'm just walking the beach. Find something that works for you. It doesn't have to be a heavy backpack. It could be a weight vest. It could be anything that you add weight to your body. There's people that I've seen that have these little sleds that they drag on like turf fields where they put a belt around and a nice rope hanging from this sled, and they'll put like a rock on it and they'll just drag the rock. Now that's a production. That's a lot of things that you need to carry around, but you get the point. Rucking can help you attain your training and fitness goals at a lower risk of injury, and it ticks so many boxes that all the exercises may not hit. Try it out. Rucking is amazing. And that's it, my friends. Thank you for joining me on this Training Tuesday episode of the Livin the Dream podcast. Share the knowledge that you gain with your friends and family and hold each other accountable. If you enjoyed this content, it helps a ton. It's a nice non-cost way to support this podcast. If you could post on your social media stories a screenshot of this episode and include one takeaway that you learned. Make sure that you tag me and share your journey. Tag me at livingthedream_podcast or at coachdamian_SD. And let us know how this episode benefited you. Let us know what we missed. Let us know what we got wrong. Tell us how you have incorporated rucking into your life. Or let us know how you go out of your way to make things just a little bit more challenging in order to stay healthy, happy, and fit. We want to know. Message us if you have any suggestions or tips that would help your Livin the Dream team that we could discuss on future episodes. I will be right here with you, working on making us stronger, happier, and healthier humans. Until next time, friends, keep living the dream.